Hello, my friends, and welcome to a space where pleasure is treasured, relaxation is not what you think it is, and life firing on all cylinders is what we're about. If you are somebody who wakes up every day asking for way more, consider this your happy place. Welcome to the Creation of Living podcast. I'm your host, Heather Nichols. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Creation of Living podcast. I am your host, Heather Nichols, and I'm here this week with one of my favorite people in the world, one of my dear, dear friends and co-creators and creative muses and so many other things, Désirée DuMonde. And hi.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Desi, her business is called The World's Desire, which I love. I love the name of that so much. She is an access consciousness facilitator. She is an opera singer. She is so many things that, too long of a list to list. And a really, really powerful creature in the world and in my life. And we have this knack for having some pretty cool conversations with each other. And a lot of times it happens, in our own space when we're together. And it was just kind of like, let's do this on the podcast. Like, let's share some of the juice with the world. So, yeah.
That right there, just when two or more come together in a generative space of kindness and creation, like let's share, let's get it out there and invite more people to that. And so instead of having another one together, we decided to do it here. See what we talk about, that maybe we can have a bigger group of people tuning in to that more harmonious space of what we're actually designed to be for one another.
Yes. And, we were just kind of jamming before we started to record. And one of the things we're also creating, I'm going to be doing a Business Done Different class live at Desi's home, which is just such a beautiful space, and also online at the end of March. And we were just chatting about that, like, what is business done different, and it's a Joy of Business class. And one of the things we were talking about is like the art and the beauty of actual conversation, generative conversation in a space with other people. And even, online can be wonderful, but like in person, belly to belly, sort of, so to speak, where, a lot of magic and miracles occur organically when we get together to have these types of conversations about a different way of being, a different way of functioning, a different way of creating that I would say, to use your words, the world desires.
Yeah, well, the world does actually, the universe is actually, here comes a big sentence. When we're allowing ourselves to be that difference, we are always in complement in generating one another's lives for greater, and celebrating what one another is creating. It sounds almost corny, but it's like a truth of kind of the ecosystem of the planet. And we as people have been so trained, especially in business, but in many aspects of our life, to individualize ourselves and do comparison and competition and have a struggle, like coming together belly to belly. But with these kinds of classes, let alone when you have somebody who's actually has your back for greater, with or without a class, when you're present with one another, it starts to melt all of this indoctrination for individualization and your little encapsulated success, which, I don't know about you, but even if you've been able to pull off like a success that's just for you, it has a loneliness to it, because what our creations, as the world desires us to create, and enjoy and be enthused about what we're putting into the world, and that it actually feeds other people to the more greatness. And there's something really showing up when, I know for me, when I asked for it many years ago, I was like, where is the, not from like a false fantasy, but where is the truth of kindness between people in business and in family and in relationships and in conversations where, who knows, maybe just laughing with someone, you're going to walk away from that changing some of your business strategies because you have the space of having had someone have your back. And also, then you have the vulnerability to maybe receive more help or hire more help or receive more people that want to contribute to that. And it usually stems from that belly to belly time together where we just have to override the training to be these individuals trying to prove that we can swing something all by ourselves.
Totally, totally. Yeah, there's this conversation that we've had in access consciousness, and joy of business is a specialty area in access consciousness, about autonomy that has been really liberating for a lot of people. And this, if you look at business from this, like how most people in the world do it, there's a lot of autonomy. There's a lot of like, I'm just going to do what I need to do. I know what I need to do. I'm just going to do it. Yeah. I'm going to like put my head down and push through, and yeah. And, the creation of living the universe of that, to me, is this invitation to prioritize pleasure and relaxation and the elegance of creation that occurs when you do. And that we can have like the intensity of who we are as people, without having to like shut the world out and just get her done, and it's such a different conversation than, I like when I look at, when I was younger and I thought about being in business, I just always thought, well, I could never do that, because I don't want to, work in a high rise in a cubicle, wear a suit every day, 9 to 5. I was like, I can't do that. I don't understand how to do that.
Don't understand this keyword.
Yeah. And we've both created really beautiful businesses and lives. And, when we look at the joy business, like there's this whole piece about how your business is your life and you're living. We've both created such rich lives and businesses, with this prioritization of ease and relaxation and enjoyment. And we've both really been able to see how when that is your priority and you're willing to be so different, you don't have to go alone. You can receive support from everywhere and everybody. And that's also like, there's so much thrival that occurs from that.
So thriving, so beautifully said. And thank you for the acknowledgement, because many times, even though, so this might resonate with some of you listeners, but I was creating my life with many of my interests and desires, but I had defined my business by my business. And it wasn't until later with these kinds of conversations that I allowed all those other beautiful aspects of my life to be the business of my life, and that they are contributing to me as a lady in business. They are contributing to me in all aspects. And so that's something that is so wonderful to hear and to acknowledge, that every part of your life is the creation of your living, which I love the title of your podcast, because we don't talk often about the creation of living. We talk about surviving a life and trying to have a few good things. And when you talked about thriving there, just like dropping that energy into all of our worlds, what I have found that might just add to this conversation of autonomy is if we're not in the allowance of all those aspects, all creating the creation of your living, that you're not just a mom or just a wife or just a business lady or just a dad or just a, and then this is my job and this is my financial reality, but all of it is part of you thriving here. If you really were looking at it that way, it opens you up to this, like, it might sound far out, but it's actually really pragmatic that you're in the creation of a multi-dimensional living. And when we do this, it's so one-dimensional, and all we can do is like try to control the outcome all the time. And I don't know about you, but I am tired of trying to control outcomes. And there are so many tools, which just makes this class coming up all the more exciting for me, to really add more bells and whistles to the joy of, wow, where am I still kind of doing that? Where have I opened up to the creation of living and being in this multi-dimensional, almost like growing a garden with a plethora of different flowers and vegetables and all the things, versus a one-dimensional control and outcome. But every conversation we have, we kind of peel away more places that we're doing control, and survive, wondering why the body isn't in the pleasure and the health that it desires, or wondering why our relationship is, cranky or whatever is going on, because we haven't had this invitation to, like, hey, grow your life, grow the business of living. And if you wake up in the morning with like, wow, all of the multi-dimensional thrival that I get to have today and I get to nourish today, what would I like to choose? Well, one of the first things, to go back to your earlier point, is I'd like to really engage with more people, even though sometimes people can be really frustrating. But on the flip side, many of us are longing to come out of that control, push, adrenaline. We're longing for one another, and we're longing for how to rehydrate and remember how to be a gift to each other. And it starts kind of awkward. Hey, who cares? You just, every time you put yourself out there a little bit more, which is such a different thing to think of as a class. Like, what if a class also can change my life, but it's also an opportunity to kind of relearn or reset the way that I'd like to be me with others and receive them, and have one another targeting thrival for all of us, and not from a fantasy, but really from question and vulnerability, and not buying each other's limitations and having each other's backs. Like, hey, this limitation is popping up. There's some tools in this class. You want to hang out and talk about it? Like, yeah, I do.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I love about the Business Done Different classes is they really are this big melt for people out of the structures of business that they thought they had to function from, because business is just such a loaded word. Busyness, into this sense of like, wow, you mean everything that I am and everything that I know right now is what is required for me to create what I would like to create. So there's this incredible empowerment that comes in these classes that it's one of my favorite things to witness and to contribute to and be part of, because it's such I think growing up, I was always encouraged to have my own business. I'm really lucky. Like, I grew up with parents that really actually were like, they were both entrepreneurs, and they were like, you should do that too. Not telling me what to do, but like encouraging me to do that. So I never envisioned myself having a job ever. Like, I never really did. I had a job for like 9 months, and it was, really boring, and I quit, and I started my own private practice as a psychotherapist in the late 90s. And I I just lost my train of thought.
Well, I have something there actually.
Yeah,
So what you're showing is like an invitation to be something different, but maybe somewhere along the line, either looking for how can I have this like really different me fit into the structure of this reality. And the thing is about structure of business here is it's like, it looks like jobs and it looks like these things. It looks like, well, they're structures and they have these hard edges. But then if you've been encouraged by anyone, like, from just to compliment, your parents were entrepreneurs. My parents were like, go for your dreams. That being said, they didn't really know how to, like, hopefully you'll figure out that dream in a job. And I had a really big dream. It started out as a musician and an actress and wanting to create beauty for people, to melt their bodies and gift them the sound of my voice to the best of my ability. And that was a really big dream, that trying to fit that into the structure of a job was really weird and challenging. And so even if you have this entrepreneurial thrival kind of concept, when we look at the structures of business in this reality, we look for somewhere we can get a job, or we can't find it, so we feel like we aren't in business. And there's this other conversation of really having, what I like to say is just playing a totally different game, kind of bypassing the structures and being in the power of what you know and using some of those structures to your advantage, but also playing a bigger game of like, wow, what can I be today? What's required for this dream to actualize as something pragmatic that I can gift to the world? And so I don't know if this is going all over the place, but I'm noticing how often when I talk to people, they avoid business dynamically because the structure of it seems to shut down their creativity.
Yeah. Yeah.
The business done different class is like, what? Wait, what? Like, I get to be the source of the creativity, and I can play with where, like, all these different ways that I can present it to the world, but it's always at the honoring of what is fun for you and what generates your life, not something that's actually proving, or where you're having to give yourself up for the structure of business of this reality.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the coolest thing for me about this totally different way of looking at business is it really is, I see business, and I've been, inspired by lots of people along the way, to see business as a way of bringing my creations to the world.
Say it again.
Business is a way of bringing our creations to the world, and
wow,
and that is such a different perspective, because most people see business, obviously, well, business is how you make money. You do it to make money. And I think for so many people that are like the seekers of the world, people that know that there's something different, money is kind of like, it's not enough of a thing to go for just for the sake of having money alone. Like it doesn't have as, like, just money is kind of like, okay, whatever, but creation and like creativity and bringing our creative ideas to the world and having a vehicle for that is called, becomes your business or is your business, whatever, is like, it's so different. And the beauty is that, and this may sound very airy-fairy, and everything we're saying may sound airy-fairy, and that's fine. But there was something that I always knew about this that I didn't know that I knew until later, and I was like, I've always known this, which is that when we engage in bringing our creations to the world, we have the joy of creation, which is such an essential, vital nutrient for so many of us. It creates this energy that allows money to come as a byproduct, and it can come in large quantity as a byproduct. Like it really can, you start to open up these flows that money just comes in to support our creations and our choices. And so many people think it's the putting the cart before the horse, which is, I got to have the money to have the creation. No, it's the other way around.
Well, and that just kind of, that's, yes. And until you're willing to like play with that and find that out, it sounds great in theory, but man, when you find that out and you actually you prioritize the joy of creativity and you give up this need of money, you're living in a completely different space. And the thing is that just basically is the switch from survival to thrival right there. Because if you are needing money to survive, you will take on all kinds of, headaches and grind, be head to the grindstone kind of thing to get the result of the money you think business provides. And it's just so amazing because it's still, when you said it, it's still like melting stuff in my universe that business is it's like the chariot. It's like carrying the gift of you to the world. Yeah. And many of us, if you're a dreamer, if you have an awareness of possibilities, looking at business has been our reason to kind of give up. And it's so different to look at business as a gift to get your creative ideas out there and the possibilities that you're aware of and the energy of you that the world desires. I mean, hey, if business is one of the ways that it gets to the world, we resist it for what reason? Oh, because of all the things that we've decided is real and true about business. And yes. I'm just like, wow, it's so extraordinary. Like finally that word really means what it means. It's extraordinary to look at business as a gift to contribute to gifting you to the world.
Yeah.
Rather than a way to get money and fulfill your supposed needs, because you as a creative dreamer, wonderful being that you are, sure, we all would like to have some more money for the things that we think we desire. But when you're really turned on creatively, we don't really care about money. You're so alive that all you can think about the minute you wake up all day until you fall asleep on your pillow is the joy of whatever it is you're creating. And what would the world be like if more people were tuned in to the joy of creation, and then money can just roll in as a contribution, not as a forced result. Money can move into your world as a contribution for more creativity. And that's also a different point of view about money. Oh my God.
And like the consciousness, like the energy of money, it likes to flow. It likes to move. It doesn't actually like to stagnate and accumulate. And we think so often that we have to just like hoard it, and yet there's so like we can use it to create greater. And the consciousness of money does have this tendency to flow into places where it can be used to create greater. And they also sound very esoteric. And, the thing that I got from all of these conversations was when I took my first Joy of Business class. I don't even remember when it was. It was a long time ago, probably 2000, 13 or something like that, maybe 2014. And I was like, oh my gosh, finally somebody is saying what I know to be true that I didn't know that I knew.
Yeah.
And this is how I would like to actually do business. And it was so different than what I, thought it had to be, or I had to be. And that was, so let's say it was 10 years ago. I just jumped on the path, and I was like, okay, well, it makes sense to me that money follows creation. It makes sense to me that if I be more of me, that my business will thrive more. That makes sense. So how I've been doing it, limping along, because I had a business already. I had a business for, I don't know, whatever that was, 15 years or so by that point. But I had been limping along, trying to figure it out, trying to get it right. consulting the experts, nobody had ever asked me, what do you know about it? And so I went, okay, well, I've tried this other way. Like I really have, and I'm not like a multi-jillionaire or millionaire or whatever. So at that time it was like, I don't really have a lot to lose by really giving this other universe that I'm aware of here a go, And so it was like I jumped tracks and I was like, all right, I'm going to give myself the permission and the space to explore this because this way of doing business makes so much sense to me. Yes. And everybody's going to tell me that I'm not correct and that I don't know what I'm doing. And that's fine. I have to find out what's true for me. And this seems like it is what's true for me. And then, it was amazing because I started using the tools of Joy of Business and Access Consciousness and creating my business from that. And it was like my income, I think for the first, it was like 7 years that I was using these tools. One day I sat down, I was like, I want to figure this out. It increased an average of 57% per year for 7 years.
How does it get better than
that? I was like, apparently this stuff works,
Well, this is like amazing. And I love hearing that story of like, what do I have to lose? Like, there's something about this that is like more harmonious to me. And I'm going to give it a shot. And then you get to find out. And I know I'm just going to like tie this in as well, because I know for myself, I had just decided at a certain point that everybody else will do the business part. I guess I'm an artist. I'm the artist. They're in business. And I have many experiences of trying to tell myself that I'm not good at business. I'm the artist. That's where I'm putting all my energy. And relying on everyone else as if I have no awareness, as if I have no power, as if I have, and so I had to suppress a lot of my awarenesses and my power. And I got really angry. I was really angry with like how things were being handled with my career, with my life. And part of what also might contribute to any of you out there is if you're like, wow, if it were up to me, I would do this differently. Well, business done different might be like an amazing gift because we're not accustomed to having a conversation with ourselves. Like the fundamentals of being is not something anybody taught us.
Yeah.
But these classes teach us tools to be like, oh, I'm angry. Why am I angry about how I just got negotiated down and lost money and my body is feeling underpaid for pouring my heart out? Maybe if it were up to me is not a frivolous fantasy. That's a real creation of business. Mm-hmm. And when you empower yourself with like, I know, what do I know? How would I like this to look? And your life starts thriving by 57% a year. I'll have that, please.
Or just money flows. That wasn't everything, because then it just translated everywhere into my life with, how I was willing to do my relationship different, like my relationship with my partner, that just started to really change and evolve in such a beautiful way. How I was showing up as a mom. The first episode of this Creation of Living podcast, I go into more of a story of my body and me as a mom and my business and how they were all so connected. For me to start, that was the beginning of this path. So, anybody can go to that one to listen more on that, but it's all connected, and we just don't know where we need to tweak something in which area of our life to change something, perhaps in another area or in all the areas. But when we give ourselves permission to know, we give ourselves permission to move in the way that's true for us. We give ourselves permission to thrive, to be different,
to make mistakes.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be right. Creativity is like, wow, I'm willing to make mistakes. I'm willing to dust myself off and give it another shot. And part of creativity is the joy of mistakes and gaining the awareness. I mean, I loved that as a musician. The only way you're going to really like find the way your body can sing a phrase over and over and over again without injury or strain is making a hell of a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
And they're such contributions. Like every mistake was a contribution. But if it came to money and business, oh my gosh, we're all coming from so many different threads of thought that we have to try to do this right. And if we lose any money, we're losing in business. And that's part of the difference you're bringing up here is money flows. And when you're free from the shackles of like trying to get it right and thinking you're losing when it's down, and this whole way of constantly abusing yourself with like a financial judgment rather than like, wow, what did I just learn from this? Amazing. Yeah. I have this mistake. Now I can, choose something else. And when you get to a place like that, it's like, I love, you said something like it's words like joy of creation, but really the joy of creativity is like so playful. And as adults in business, I mean, those words, adults in business, we become perfectionists, and we also are constantly thinking that someone outside of us has the 12-step plan, or they could do better with our business, rather than just really like getting to have the playground of trial and error. And being, usually what I found is I find some amazing, miraculous thing that nobody else has chosen yet, and it really works for my business. And wow, I created that. And it doesn't have to be something that is so ingrained and this is how you do it. And tying body into when you're honoring of you is like, okay, I'm not wrong if money's down, money's up, money's down, money's flowing, I'm creating. Your body starts to have a really different role in the growth of your business. And you start to honor your body, not as a slave to work, but as a beautiful and amazing creator of change in the world.
Yeah.
What my body felt like when I thought she was a slave to her job. I ain't going back.
I know. Just one little note on that's been amazing for me this past week. So there's this, in Access Consciousness, there's also, we do a lot of energetic hands-on work as well. And there's these body processes that are these energetic energies that you run on the body, and they create a lot of change. And there's one, Desi and I ran it together a few days ago. That is a new process that once I received it or just heard about it, I went, okay, I'd like to have that run every day, please. Dear universe, let's have this run every day. Mm-hmm. I just started, pinging people and asking for trades. And because you can, once you know it, you can trade sessions with people. And I've had it run 4 of the past 5 days. And it's amazing because you get on the table, I just fall asleep and receive this incredible energetic process on my body and my world and my universe. And my business is absolutely exploding and thriving in that time, just in that time even, and there's all kinds of factors, but it's so cool to see how a body process, can change your business. I mean, that is amazing to me. That's a testament to just how you never have to figure anything out. Just move with what you know, to choose, to have, to add. Things will flourish if you know what you know, and that.
Yeah, thank you for that. And you said it doesn't need to be repeated, so beautifully stated, but flourishing is something that you have to be willing to gift yourself. Yes. And we look for success, and this reality is really driven about success and kind of like a win, or, getting your title, getting your salary. And that never really lit me up. Of course, like, welcome money. I have lots of things I'd love to create in the world, but that like push to try to succeed, if that hasn't lit you up, well, maybe would I give myself the gift of flourishing? And what is it? What is the gift of you, all of you listening? Like, what is the gift of you flourishing in your body, in your finances, in your creativity to the world that nobody's really asked us, like, really. And if you think about people that you've loved and watched work so hard at their job, really try to, make ends meet, and they weren't considering flourishing for themselves. Like when I think of my parents, I'm like, wow, they were both really hard workers. I really wish they had ever considered flourishing. Well, maybe I will. And that's not just a gift to yourself. It's a gift to every single person you approach. It's a gift to everyone. And it opens the door for other people to realize, like, wow, flourishing is actually the most valuable thing that I could target. If I would like to really be alive and have a creation of living rather than a body with a job trying to get a success, is just
Totally. That's way more fun and exciting for most of us,
yeah.
the seekers of the world, the people that are different, That's beautiful. So I think we'll end it with that, like the flourishing, those energies, and that invitation, because that is truly, like, I think that's what so many of us desire. And we think that, money is the way that we can eventually have flourishing, or, a successful business, getting it right is the way that we can have flourishing. But it really is the opposite, where the choice for flourishing is what allows all of those doors to open and the miraculousness to ensue, and it's not just a good idea. Like, you and I have both really lived it,
Yes.
and have continued to create our lives this way. And I'm so grateful, Desi, to be on this path and, like, have you there as a incredible friend and support, and creative muse and all the things, and just also to be inspired by what it is that how you create flourishing in your own unique way. It's really such a gift.
Well, right back at you. And to just say, yeah, many, many years of playing with the tools and feel like I'm kind of just getting started. But I'm so grateful for, like, the choice to jump toward what was energetically harmonious, even though I didn't know what it was going to look like. I didn't know if it would work, but it was harmonious energetically. And not only has it changed the way that I create my life, and thank you, and what else is possible, but it also invites you to find more of those beings out there interested in the creation of something harmonious and beautiful. And you are one of the greatest gifts that I've found in these 10 years. You're one of the greatest gifts that I've found on my journey of creating my living. And gives me goosebumps, because who you find when you choose to flourish, you're finding the gifts that you've been looking for. And they come many, many, many times as the wonderful people that you get to put hands on each other and laugh together and create business together. And it's not a fairy tale. It's the gift of what the world desires for us and what the universe has in mind.
Yeah. And
Thank
we have to just be willing to be so different.
Yeah, it is very different.
And that's the beauty of having, other people who have our backs, because I can't even imagine. I would never have been able to create what I've created without the contribution of some really incredible, also, creatures who are also willing to be really different.
Dynamically different.
Yeah.
And what a strength that is. Just have to say one other thing. Every time I've leaned more toward my difference, it's an automatic strength increase. And we have this idea that when you're going to be the difference you are, you're going to be this, like, oddball, totally not knowing what the hell is going on. But your difference is actually the golden ticket to having your power and your strength. Because the people who are really creating differently, and you're one of them, is like, it is so freaking amazing to see how much they're in their totality of genuine joy and power that can only increase. It only can keep getting greater and expand. So amazing. Yes. Thank you so much for this conversation. And I cannot wait for your class, because I haven't had a business done different with you in a few years. And I have so many questions I have so many questions even from this conversation of what else is possible in places that I'm maybe still functioning from other people's points of views that can go away, and I can get more creative and more courageous.
Yeah, there is definitely always more every day. Yeah.
Yay!
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. If you want to check out the class or come join us, it's on my website, heathernichols.com, on the events page. I don't remember the short link, but it'll be in the notes as well. And it's March 28th through 31st, I believe.
Yep.
And it's in Colorado, and it's also online all over the world. So there's a manual, just beautiful, beautiful, such a life-changing class. So thank you all for being here, and we will see you next time. Bye for now. Thank you for joining me for the Creation of Living podcast. If this conversation was inspiring to you, share the love. To work privately with me or for info on my upcoming classes and retreats, go to heathernichols.com. Have a beautiful day, and remember that the world thrives when you do.